In this video, we'll work on Verbs 127. It's supposed to say in English, this book was read by John. In other words, a passive. So let's go there. And, okay, for passives, what we in English call passives, if you look down at the third feature, topic noun phrases equals most patient-like. In other words, the patient is being promoted to the position of prominence, the subject. And you may remember previously, when we had new features, we have noun phrases, grammatical relations with voice. If your language uses voice, active and passive, you should select this option. If your language doesn't use voice, then you select this option, number 4. So, because of that rule there, John, the noun phrase is tagged with a grammatical relation of oblique, and the patient has been tagged with the grammatical relation of subject. And if we rest our cursor there, the last line, features change from grammatical relation equals oblique to subject by transfer grammar feature adjustment rules, rule number 5. So what we need to do, okay, so this is already the subject. We need some special, an auxiliary verb here, and we need by John here. So let's work on this one first, adding by John. So that will be a structural adjustment rule. Let's enter a new group. Let's call this noun phrase issues. And this will be based on a noun phrase. Insert. So we need a noun phrase, and the features of the clause must be most patient-like. This is the agent, and in the output structure, it'll be a target word, preposition, by. Okay. This book, John by. Okay, so we need to update our phrase structure rule for noun phrases. So there's an add position. Okay, this book was read by John. We need an auxiliary verb here, so that will be a spell-out rule. Let's add another layer specifically for passives. And our features in the upper left corner will be most patient-like. Now, for this sentence here, all we need to do is insert an auxiliary was. So let's add a column. And make sure your column names match what you have in other layers. Let's move this just so we can help visualize it. Make sure these match, otherwise you're adding unnecessary parts of speech to your phrase structure rules. So we have preverbal, preverbal. And for our features, let's call this passive. Now we'll find out in the future, we really need considerably more rows here. They were beaten. The Lakers were beaten by the Celtics. He was, I was beaten, you were beaten. we're going to need person and number agreement. And there will be other passives like the Lakers might not have been beaten by the Celtics if something. So this layer will get considerably more complex, but we're discovering things as we go. So let's save this. Okay. John was beaten, so we want the perfect. Okay. This book was read by John, so we'll save that. Okay, why is that in red? Oh, a book was read by John. Okay, this is another example where we need to go back and change the MTT's translation. This was old. Okay. This book was read by John. This book was read by John. By the way, I've been editing this number 1 grammar introduction document throughout these tutorials, and you will get the latest version after these tutorials are finished. So you won't have this issue, okay? So just to let you know. And if we get an update, to update it. Okay, so that's fine. In the next video, we'll talk about Verbs 125. I just watched this video and noticed that I made a mistake there. And I showed that text to you in red, but let's go back and correct that mistake before we move on. For this, the passives layer, so here in the upper left corner, we've already specified that the clause has to have a topic noun phrase of most patient-like. So once we set that here, in the upper left corner, we don't need to repeat that in every row down here. So we're going to remove that feature here because that's not necessary anymore. So now there are no features in this row, which is very unusual. Later, we will find out that we do need features. We're going to need person and number, polarity and aspect, etc. But for now, this is fine. This book was read by John, so it still works. Save that, and now we're ready. Now we're ready to work on this one.